Okay, this is going to be a very short intro to, again, showing you the same program, but this time I want to show you how to publish it so you can have the figures, the code, and so many other things all in one document, right? So, for example, I wanted to publish this one so that it appears in one document comprised and combining all the code, the results, and so on. So, in this case, to have the title, it has to be the first line, and you have percent, then space, and then we say, let's say a title basic plot, right? Or basic, okay, plot with two panes. Panes, that means, it's like a window that has, two panes, two pieces, right? So that's what I'm saying here. Now, one thing is that, for example, imagine if I wanted to say here, percent, I am learning Matlab. Now here, this is what we call a comment, right? A comment, meaning that it's not going to show, it's not going to be executed, right? It's just for you to remember. Why? Because when you write a program and you write it for other people, let's say, or even for yourself, you may not remember what each variable is about, what the problem is about, and what the goal of the problem is, and so on. So the comments are going to show you, or going to remind you what you're trying to do. They're going to remind you why you, for example, you established T in this range, why you established the subplot command, and so on. So you write them as comments. For example, here I can say percent, and then I can say, first pane, right? I'm going to say just first pane. Because as you see here, it's one row, two columns, but the one here, meaning I want this plot, right, this plot on line 6 to be in the first pane. I want the plot in line 10 to be in the second pane, right? So I decide where they go, right? So these, as you see them in green, they're not executable, right? They're just comments for you to remember, or for other users to know what, or programmers if they use your program, especially when somebody writes a function of 200 lines, 500 lines, and you want to use it as a single instruction. How do you know what the inputs are, what the outputs are? How do you know if you want to change some of the lines and then adapt that routine to your own work, right? So you need explanations, right? Somebody has to provide all that. So when I start, as I said, the first line, it's going to give me this. So, but then later on, right, in this case, I'm going to remove the space. So at some point, imagine if I say, again, space, and then I say FED, right, 101. Now you will see a different way of looking at this, right? A different way of looking at this. Then also, imagine if I have a space, percent and space NJIT, right? Okay, is a fantastic school, right? Okay, it looks corny, but that's all right. Don't worry about it. So let's see what happens when I try to publish it with these kind of parameters, right? You have percent with no space, 2% with space, 1% with space, 2% with space, but there's a first line. So those are all different, right? They have different ways of being recognized. So when I want to publish it, I go to publish. Then before I publish, because by default it will produce a document where you have to use the web browser to see it. So in this case, I go to the little black triangle and I say edit publishing options, right? And so under edit publishing options, I see here HTML. That's the format that is by default. So you need a web browser And the bad thing is that if I want to make changes, I have to know about the HTML code and whatever. So, and then if I want to add some essays or some paragraphs, I prefer to use Microsoft Word or something, right? So I'm going to ignore that and ask for doc, which means Word format. Of course, I can turn it into a PowerPoint, I can turn it into PDF and into other forms, right? But I'm going to go for doc for the time being, right? Because I know that I can edit the document, I can watch it and look at it, easily with any software, hopefully. So once I choose doc, I can choose publish from here, or I can go back and use publish from from this one, right? So if I say publish, I have to wait a little bit because it takes time, right? It has to execute the program and it has to extract the document under document form or doc form, right? Microsoft doc form. And then when it's available, you believe it or not, it will be under the subfolder. You see here, it's already shown. And you see here, this is the title, right? And you see here FED 101. So let's see here, if I make it smaller and compare to this. So you see here, basic plot with 2 panes, that's the title, right? That's the title. Sorry, here it is. That's the title. You see here the percent with no space, that's just a comment, right? Something that is good for you, but it's not executable, right? It does not affect the publishing, it does not affect the code, nothing, right? Then you've got FED 101, 2% with a space. So that becomes the title of a section, right? That's the title of a section. See here, you remember if you have contents for books, that's what happens, right? You have the title, then the title of sections, sections of some book, right? So it lists them. Here I only have 2 of them, right? The title and the title of one section, right? Because that's what I used. And then you have NJIT is a fantastic school. And what happens here is that when I have 1% with space, it looks at it as an essay. That means when I'm typing like a paragraph, that's what it displays, right? It displays. So I could have typed an entire paragraph or entire page, 2-page, whatever. Of course, I could have done it with Microsoft Word, but if somebody has only Matlab, he can produce a document that will show multiple pages of some observations or whatever, right? So to do it is 1% and space, that becomes an essay. 2% and space, that becomes the head of every of a section, and 2% and space is the first line. That's the title of the entire document. And as you see here, not only do I have the content and the title and the code and the graphs and the solutions, right? Even well, I did I ask for I? Well, now here it's not about the I, right? It's about the plotting. So obviously, if I had also other numbers, they could have also been displayed as solutions, right? So as you see here, the good thing about publication is like writing a report. You can then give this to your boss, to your client, or whatever it is, and it has everything that person will need. So much more to learn, but then again, we're just starting. So, and then you will learn a lot more as you go through the 4 years, because in many other courses, it's going to be a major usage of Matlab, hopefully.